Have you ever wondered what Samara does while she's waiting for the 7 days to pass? Day 1. Day 2. Day 3. Day 4. Rings is coming out here tomorrow, and how could I not do a makeup tutorial on Samara? I'm going to start with the dress component. So I bought this cotton nightgown from eBay. I cut the lace detail off the bottom of these sleeves, which helps it to look more like her dress. I also roughly cut the bottom of the dress. And then using the Surform tool, I'm going to drag it across the surface of the dress. This will make holes in the dress, making the dress look much older and more distressed. I made it look all stained and old using mostly acrylic paints. Once I was happy with that color, I added a little bit of water just to make it a bit more liquidy and easier to spread across the dress. And I also got a cup of just plain water to help blend out and dissolve that paint. I started with it most concentrated at the base. I also made a cup of very strong tea. I used 3 or 4 tea bags in this cup and brewed it for a long amount of time, and now I'm brushing this tea staining over the dress as well. So I actually added some dirt powders into my cup of water. They're the PPI dirt powders, and they don't completely dissolve in the water, which gives some really interesting dirt effects when you spread it out across the dress. Now I'm going to be applying this makeup on my friend Leah, who kindly agreed to model for me. And I have my friend Kate here, who's a really talented makeup artist. Samara is quite pale and quite grey, so we're going to start by airbrushing Leah's arms, legs, face and neck, and we're mixing up a base color which is Bluebird's white alcohol airbrushing paints, Skin Illustrator's grey matter, and a little bit of Skin Illustrator's vein tone to help counteract the oranges and pinks in the skin. Using my Paasche H airbrush, we started airbrushing the arms and the legs, trying to get an even coating of this pale skin tone. We airbrushed Leah's chest and neck as well, and when we started airbrushing her face, we realized we should probably block out her eyebrows, as Samara has this creepy eyebrowless face. I'm going to use some of the Neill products Neill Skin to cover her eyebrows. To prepare Leah's eyebrow to have the cat plastic over the top, we wanted to glue it flat across her face first. So we're using Telesis 5 adhesive with a little bit of thinner, and we run that through the brows, and then using the brush we press the brows into her skin. Then we cut little patches of Neill skin, leaving a bit of room around the brows so that we have space to dissolve the cat plastic into her skin. Now using cotton tips with a very small amount of acetone on them, we're going to very carefully and slowly dissolve away the edges of this cat plastic. Working with acetone around the eyes can be dangerous, so make sure that you're only ever applying a very small amount of acetone and just on the edges of the cat plastic. Once we finish dissolving the edges of the Neill skin, I'm going to put a layer of prosthetic cream all the way around the eyebrow just to help disguise the edges and to give it some extra texturing. I'm using Neill Gel's prosthetic cream in the color Blush. I find it very helpful to use torn up red sponge while applying this, and I've also got some lockable tweezers so that I don't get the prosthetic cream all over my fingers. Once it has dried, we're going to powder it to take away some of the stickiness, and then we're going to seal it with Bluebird's matte sealer, thinned with a little bit of isopropyl alcohol. Then we finished airbrushing Leah's face that pale off-white color. Because Samara's skin is all decaying and waterlogged, I wanted to break up some of that white coloring, so I'm using a favorite from the Skin Illustrator Necromania color called Darth Moss, and applying that with a little watercolor brush from Bdellium tools. I'm going to be smearing that around the skin just to break up the whiteness and make it look a little bit more waterlogged and decaying. We do that over Leah's arms, over her legs, and over her face and neck. Kate is airbrushing some really nice dark greys over Leah's hands, arms, feet, and legs to amp up the contrast and to make her look a little bit more unnourished and undead. I also added a little bit of darker rotting spots, so I'm using light mauve from the Complexions palette first, and then I'm making it look darker by adding the Dark Moss, Vile Bile, and Lividity coloring from the Necromania palette. So I'm going to be airbrushing some veins. I'm using my Iwata HP-C airbrush for this instead, as it's a really nice dual action brush, which makes it easier to get fine lines and nice veining. And the color that I'm airbrushing has a little bit of the vein blue tone, but I wanted it to be mostly a dark grey color so that it would be seen through the silicone. I wanted to darken Leah's eyes and add some lines around them, so I'm using some cream makeup from my Nye Ultimate FX Palette, and I'm drawing on some lines and then smudging it out with a separate brush. Then I added a second color which is slightly darker and slightly more grey. We also airbrushed on some lines to make her face look a little bit harsher. So the next phase is we're going to create the creepy, waterlogged, crepey skin texture that Samara has, and to do that we're going to be applying an out-of-kit silicone, and then we're going to be putting cap plastic sheets over the top of that. The cap plastic sheets I made myself. To make these, you can use any type of cap plastic that you like, whether it's acetone based or isopropyl alcohol based. I used Neill's Materials cap plastic diluted 50% with acetone. And I used the back of a silicone flat mold to paint it on so that I would know the surface would release the cap plastic really easily. I put down some Vaseline as a release and then buffed it in, and then I painted 5 layers of the cap plastic, letting it dry in between each layer, and once the last layer had fully dried, I carefully removed it with a brush and some baby powder. I repeated this at least 20 times. I needed a lot of cap plastic to cover the arms and the legs. And then I'd mix up Smooth On Skin Tight silicone. This is a good silicone to use for this because it has a very short curing time. It cures in 3 to 5 minutes, which means you can work fast. Other silicones can take 30 minutes or 4 hours, whatever it is to cure. So you want something that cures fast. And this silicone is also a really good one to use for this, as you can apply it over short, fine arm hairs and it will come off without ripping out all of the arm hairs, which is a really important feature. I don't think you can apply it on really long, thick hairs though. So we mixed up the silicone by weight, 50% of part A and 50% of part B, and then we quickly applied it over Leah's arms using a large tongue decompressor stick. Once the silicone was down, we quickly put the cap plastic over the top of it and shifted the cap plastic until it crinkled in a way that we found aesthetically pleasing and quite creepy, and then within a minute or two it had completely cured. So we applied the next lot of skin tight and cap plastic right next to this. We had 3 layers around the arm and then 1 layer on the back of the hand. Once we finished doing the fingers and the palm, we dissolved any excess cap plastic and moved on to the next arm, where we repeated the same process. We then moved on to putting this onto the legs, and we started running out of skin tight, cap plastic and time, so we decided just to do the front of the thighs, over the knees, the front and sides of the shins, and the top of the foot, but we neglected to do the back of the thighs as they weren't going to be seen in our shots. After we finished adding those final details to the toes and the legs, we started prepping Leah's hair for the wig, and then we put a wig cap over the top. Then we put the wig on, and this is just a cheap wig I got from eBay, but that front part is sewn in, which is making it hard for us to get the hair to fall completely over the face, which is one of the things that makes Samara so creepy, is that you can't see her face through that mess of damp, dark hair. And we teased the heck out of it at the front to make that hair all matted and just stay down over the front of her face, and then we sprayed that with hairspray, and then we dampened the rest of the hair with a little water spray bottle. And this is our finished makeup. You just have to add a TV screen with a well on it or some static, have some creepy contortionist moves happening, and you have yourself Samara from Rings. Thank you so much for watching this video. I had so much fun doing this, and I'll be back soon with more videos. I will see you guys later.